Welcome everyone in my today's session, multi-factor authentication, the must need of today's IT. Hope you're enjoying SocalCodeCamp. Um, all right, these are our event sponsors, so I'm thanking them as well. Then this is our partners. Sorry, topic has gone off. So partners are more helpful as well. That they're spreading the words, telling everybody that we are organizing this, and also bringing some help. So thank you to them as well. This is myself. A lot of credentials there. I'm the CTO of Golden 5 Consulting, CEO of LAEX UG Foundation. Starting with Golden 5, we are a consulting organization which does Microsoft consulting in whole world. We are Tier 1 CSP. We sell Microsoft licenses as well. LAEX UG Foundation is a user group community non-profit organization in California, and we organize and run our meetings in Microsoft Playa Vista office in LA. Myself, I have 18 years of experience. I've worked for almost all IT giants before working with these two organizations. IBM, Accenture, Microsoft, I've worked for all of them. I've been 3 years I've awarded for a Microsoft MVP award. I've been a blogger, speaker, author, father and husband. And here's my blog website, msactionguru.com, and that's my company website. My company logo, my user group community logo, and that's all. Now in the red you have my contacts and LinkedIn and phone number. You can also pick my business card from here, and that has everything. All right, agenda for today is identifying the security risks, security options, Azure MFA authentication. We'll talk about more about multi-factor authentication, and secure infrastructure with Azure MFA. So I wanted to present some data, what I have collected in the past, that these are the 160 million customer records got compromised till I think last 1 year, and then 140 to 200 days it takes from the spam or attack has entered and customer identified that. So it had entered like 200 days back, and after 200 days you identified, oh, we were attacked. So they have taken almost all your data and they are inside. That's the worst situation. If you get to know next day, that's the best thing. You can remove it, not a big loss. Then 87% of managers admitted this. It is collected through managers' reviews and not from the users. So if these are the managers giving this review, 87% of them use their personal accounts at office, then users have more, like they use more, because either they are not worried about it or they're not aware, but they use. So everyone uses their personal account. Why I'm mentioning is because maybe your personal account has not a lot of prevention like your corporate account has. So if you use a personal email like maybe Yahoo or Gmail, if it has a corrupted or infected spam file in there and you open in your office, you will spread the virus or any issue in your office. So, but same thing with the office, it should be filtered by your spam gateway or anti-spam, and it should be cured and much safer. Then 50%. Okay. So then the data also calculated how much data is being added every year. Right now, when this was collected, 50% every year the data is growing, but I am guessing it's going to be more in near future. Data we are moving out of paper. Everything is going in the cloud, and IT and everything is going to be in the data format. So everything is increasing day by day. Looking at the Elon Musk talking about Hyperloop, it has a lot of data to calculate. The more technology we're adopting, it has more data. Facial ID I'm using, and I know that it is doing more data analysis than my fingerprint. Similarly, tomorrow we may expect some DNA verification websites. Now the Clear is if you have heard about the Clear company, they're also doing the fast access at the airport. So they're adding your data, and you do the fingerprinting there, and they just let you go. Another better than TSA pre. So, but it's collecting a lot of data. Data is increasing more and more. That's the whole point. And that's adding risk as well. So, and every organization, every industry is evaluating and adding the data. Talking about recent cyber attacks, I mean, this is what I have collected, but we all know there was at Hollywood Hospital, I think paid 18,000 ransom. And I've also witnessed one of my customer had got attacked, and they had Caesar virus. So luckily, we had moved out their messaging database from this server to another server like 2 weeks back, and they got attacked. And we just terminated that server. That was a domain controller, but we had additional domain controllers, so we had the leverage to do that. But this is happening on a regular basis. It's very easy now for attackers to attack because they are really this is a professional job to be the hacker and attacker. So they hack, put the ransomware, encrypt your files, you pay them the money, they de-encrypt your files. That's how it works. So who thought that encryption would be a problem any day when they were developing? So they built encryption, and it could be a problem if it has a key which your organization doesn't have it. So my Doom virus caused 38.5 billion. In year 2016, we witnessed a lot of cyber attacks. But this year, I think we might be beating this number. We'll get the analysis next year. Then malware attacks, again, this last year was 8.19 billion. Then there's one of the chief of police in US wrote this article, which you can always go and check, and how to protect yourself. So I have a website which tells that a lot of data as well. So let's talk about how many people have faced the attack, actually, experienced the cyber attack, or even a small virus in your organization. All right. So how was it cured? How did it cure? It was simple antivirus or anything?
Well, I mean, this year, one of my clients, I won't say who, but one of the major multinationals struck by a petty or two.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, everything went down. All the domains went down. Emails compromised. Email servers gone. Servers compromised because it was a variation of Petya.
Right.
But then they added Windows security host that allowed it to traverse between. Once it got into a Microsoft domain server, it was able to traverse across all the other domain servers and all the connected computers connected to them.
So they had a backup, or they had to pay ransom?
They didn't pay ransom, but lots of data was lost. Servers were lost.
Yeah.
The backup servers got infected. That couldn't be brought back up, so they couldn't bring back the backup, backup images. Yeah.
Okay. What's your story?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, about a year ago, I had my phone got hacked.
Oh my God. Which one you
and
use?
I ended up, basically, they had to almost get rid of that, give me a new phone. It was
Okay.
locked.
Oh,
They couldn't fix it.
wow.
They couldn't. They tried. And
Okay.
it was too far gone.
All right.
Android or iOS?
It's Android or iOS?
At the time, it was Android.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, that's that's my discussion with everybody that okay, Android is more prone to get the virus. Even Windows 4 or Android are easy to catch virus, much better, much easier than your iOS. But it's not foolproof. So even iOS can catch the virus or can be hacked if they get the credentials. It's a matter of getting the credentials. So, all right. So, have anyone checked this website earlier? Map, Norscope? Yeah. So this shows you basically the attacks happening live. Let's see if it opens up. And okay.
Yeah, here
If
it
I don't
takes
have
a
the
long time.
if I don't have a good bandwidth, it will not show up good. But yeah, and also some browser. So. So this website, basically you can see that it's who is attacking from where. I'm sorry, I shook the wire. So who is attacking from where? You can see all that, and this is live data. Okay, come on, come back. So this is a live data. It's keep on changing every day, and I think they yeah. So check it out whenever.
What kind of attack?
So it's hitting. So IP to IP, who's hitting what, and it is considered that an attack.
These are DDoS attacks?
Could be. I'm not sure, but you can see the lot of data coming down. Who's attacking what? Maybe it's not attack. Maybe it's a connection, which could be like Microsoft to Microsoft. So it's like who will be attacking? Who will be connecting to my server? That would be your question. Who will be connecting to Seattle, or why Seattle will be connecting to New York, or whatever the part is, or who will be connecting to LA, or who will be hitting the connection directly to LA constantly, and from where the connection being originated, that also matters. You will see a lot of African countries doing it, a lot of Asian countries doing it. Yeah, but there's no limitation, so anyone can do that. So somebody can be in US.
I think though you cannot be 100% sure that the
Yeah.
source and destination are the same,
Yeah.
because sometimes they're being attacked from somewhere else, but they're pretending like they're in another location with the VPN.
No, this is the live data. This is live feed.
I know it's like,
But
Oh, he's talking about attribution.
yeah,
you cannot
Yeah.
attribute your.
In fact,
Yeah.
if you were any good, you would be trying to find weak servers in different third world countries to attack from.
Exactly, so.
now it's becoming very easy. I can take a Azure subscription, install my server there, and that server is in US, and I will attack from that server. It could be very easy. I've seen the attacks happening from Kansas city, and many attacks from New Jersey happening. They're attacking on my website. I'm like, I don't have any data. You attack it, take away my website, I'll build a new one. I have nothing to give you. What do you want from my website? So going back to the session slide. All right. So it's good to watch what's happening in case you're concerned. So this website shows you that. How many of you are planning for a multi-factor authentication if you have not implemented in your organization or for your personal use? All right, not everybody is interested or planning, but you should. Okay. So when we are not considering, then what are our options? That's what we should consider. Don't go to internet. Forget internet. Okay, you're safe. But yeah, I mean, throw away your phone, laptop, just enjoy what you do, and just relax. That's the best thing if I can do. I would love to do that.
People are chuckling. At our company, we have a site where we do all of our development, which has no internet access.
Yes.
And a site where we do corporate work.
Yeah,
It's completely isolated from the internet. We can move data in and out twice a day,
right.
manually.
Yeah, I mean, that works. I'm saying, yeah, if that's
And
what,
it's done by a lot of people,
Yeah.
where you have to secure the data.
yeah, that's been a practice or restriction. So similarly, you put the DMZ, if you need internet, if you need to go internet, then you have to log into a specific workstation, and that is in DMZ, then only you can go to internet. Other ways only through VPN. So even I'm saying is not, just don't connect from any internet to your office. That's why I'm saying just use VPN also. Then you use enforced paraphrase passwords, which are very long, hard to break in, with different characters. It's like 15 character or more. That's much more secure considering 9 character. Then every other thing has a loop. So even if you don't have internet, you have the USB, you will transfer the data through. So if your USB get infected, it can catch the virus. So the only considered best way is to protect your device with the best antivirus or threat protection, and also use multi-factor authentication, or two-way authentication, whatever you want to call it. All right, something good coming. Okay. So multi-factor authentication options is very much available. So many options. Any product you use, everybody is offering multi-factor authentication. These are only few. There are more than what I have mentioned. So Okta, AWS, RSA token. RSA was the oldest. We never realized, right, that this could be so big in future. So I used my RSA like 15 years back, first time. Like, what this device I have to carry is so annoying, and I have to just look into this and type this number, and why I'm doing so much. Can't they have a better thing to do? But now I know that this was a good thing to do, but they were doing it at that time where nobody was so interested in RSA token. So then semantic, then CA advanced authentication. Duo is one of the mostly used as well. ESAT. Then Azure also have their own multi-factor authentication. You might have used it if you use it Office 365, but they also have an MFA server, so you can also deploy on your organization. Then we'll talk about Azure MFA options. They come in 2 flavor. One is Office 365 flavor, which you just use if you're only using an Office 365 and you don't have to worry about your on-premises. But if you have to worry about on-premises, you have Azure Multi-Factor Authentication Server. Things are changing. Microsoft is coming up with something new, but it's fully not the same. So you might still like to use Azure Multi-Factor Authentication Server on-premises. Okay, looking into the architecture, how the Office 365 version works is relatively very simple. You are a user, you use any of the device, laptop, home computer, phone, iPad or Surface or any other pad. You send out the authentication. It goes, and you also have the option to enable all these conditions: location, IP, device, user group, or anything else. The risk, you can define something else as well. So you define that if the user is in US, then only connect, deny right away. If you define, okay, it's okay even if the user is in UK, that also allow you, and you went through. And then multi-factor authentication kicks in. Then gives a prompt on your phone, or the device you have MFA app. Then you authenticate and you are in. Pretty easy. We will see the similar architecture for Azure MFA server. Before that, we would like to go through how you download. Or now this is how we used to download, not the old way of downloading. That was a little tricky, so I had it in slides, just kept it there. Log into Azure, make sure you have any of the licenses, then you expand to go to your domain, Active Directory, then you click on configure, then you browse to multi-factor authentication, then click on manage service settings like this, and then you go to the portal, and then that's kind of that. Click there, then you click on downloads. On download, then you will get this option to download. So it's like very lengthy process to go, and because your deployment will be secured with this activation credential, so you have to click on that when you'll be ready to deploy, and then it'll give you an ID and the passcode to add, and that will connect your deployment with the server. Otherwise, you cannot deploy. That last condition still stays same, but this is the new way. So Microsoft heard us, made it easy. You log into Azure MFA, click on Azure Active Directory, select multi-factor authentication MFA server. Then you will see the other screen, and in that you will click on server settings. You have the download option. Much better, much easier, much open way to download. So I'm showing you this because it's not available to download publicly. You have to have an Azure login to download it. And it's because we have to give the activation credential. Alright, so applications required to secure your infrastructure. So now we are talking about securing the whole office. So we are thinking beyond. We are saying, oh, even if we do VPN requires password, and even if we have anything else, everything requires a password. Rather than if we do with multi-factor authentication, we can get rid of VPN. We can get rid of anything else. Just give the application to the user, application logs in, ask MFA, user clicks on MFA, user is in, that's it, they're using it. Simpler way. So this is the way we can configure our infrastructure, which can simplify the things. So there are two kind of traffic which will come to your organization. One is mostly the web-based traffic. So any application which user goes to online, logins to their company portal, access their vacation or add their timesheet. That's as an example. Other stuff could be accessing any data in the office, emails. Then second traffic could be the remote desktop connections. Like right now, everybody or most of the organizations using virtual desktops. How many of you using virtual desktop? Okay, some of you. So if you have to log into VDI, virtual desktops, you don't have to log into VPN. Just double click on your RDP icon. It'll just do the MFA, and when you click on allow, you are inside your RDP. So that's another thing. I mean, if you have VPN, then sometimes the updates come, you have to deploy those updates and all. On the client end, it's sometimes catastrophic. No one wants to deploy that, and you get the prompt again. So we can simplify this deployment, and so we can simplify the user experience. So deploy once. I'm recommending to deploy 2 servers, but all this can be deployed in 1 server as well. So I'm saying, yeah. So if we get rid of the proxy, then we can deploy it on 1 server. But we are recommending proxy, so 2 servers is the best. So on the server 1, deploy Active Directory Federation services. on the server 2, deploy on the server 1. Another thing we have to deploy is Azure Multi-Factor Authentication Server. On the server 2, deploy remote desktop web and remote desktop gateway, which comes with network policy server and web application proxy, so WAP. So WAP is a proxy of ADFS. So earlier they used to call it ADFS proxy. So this server, second server, can be in your DMZ, and this can be in your on-premises in the LAN. So main purpose of the web application proxy is to proxy the requirement to the ADFS server. It's just a forwarder.
Because it's Azure, do you have to have connection to the internet?
Yes. So the first server have to have the connection to the internet. Second server does not require incoming. Outgoing is required.
Okay.
So so that can send the token and get the connection just for, and I guess it's just 443. So
Which one did you say is going to be DMZ?
server 2, which has the web application proxy. So server 2 will forward the request to server 1, and server 1 will do the authentication and come back and give the authentication. So we don't have to open a lot of ports with server 1. Server 2 will do most of the work. So let's now moving on to the configuration part. It's a big configuration. We cannot finish in one session as a demo. So I have documented the steps, but yeah, probably in future I might run like a couple of sessions to show that. So configure secure office with Azure MFA 1. This is part 1. So we need to configure the following: SSL certificate with the private key. Mostly what I do is I find a simpler way. I generate a request from my Exchange server and import the certificate when I get it from GoDaddy or any other certificate seller, DigiCert. Then I export back, and it comes with private key. Normally you have to get the private key separately. So I do this way. Then install Azure MFA server. Then install and configure ADFS server. Also configure to use Azure MFA. So we could deploy either way, but because we have to configure Azure MFA to be used, that's why I'm saying deploy it number 3, ADFS. Otherwise, we could have done it either way. Then install and configure web application proxy, which will connect to the ADFS server. Then install and configure RD Web, RD Gateway, Network Policy Server for radius pointing to Azure MFA. Then configure Azure MFA for radius server. Then configure certificate for all places. So certificate deployment is also tricky. Sometimes you have, so certificate is very tricky. So go for the maximum years you can get if you're going for a solution. Because replacing a certificate is a little tricky. You have to go through the commands and give the thumbprint there to replace the certificate. So I would suggest to have a long-term certificate. Alright, so this is the second part. Then after you have the certificate there, configure external DNS for ADFS URL point to WAP server. So even the ADFS server is different. You have to point your connection to Web Access Proxy server and not to the ADFS server. Then point your RD Web portal and RD Web Gateway DNS to the WAP server. So everything is pointed to one server. It's not going to the second server from external DNS. So when you are outside office. In ADFS, configure the following First is relaying party trust for OWA and ECP, and add their claims. Add non-claims aware relay party for ADFS server. Add Office 5 relay party trust. So this is all deep level configuration which you need to do that in order to make it work. Then configure WAP, all external URLs on the web access proxy. So in this step we are configuring all the URLs like OWA or any other website which requires MFA on your web application proxy, and that will go to the ADFS server. ADFS server will forward to MFA, and that will do the Azure authentication with multi-factor. Then you configure for Exchange server, because we are also willing to use it with OWA and ECP. So configure that. Then configure application for RD web portal. So now we're configuring RD web portal, which is going to use the Radius, which is going to use Azure MFA as a Radius server. So okay. So this is the last step. Once this is done, it should normally work, unless we have some more extra configuration you have to do. Some fine tuning may be required. All right, so this is the architecture we are talking in Azure multi-factor server on premises. So again, the user can use any of the device, mobile, laptop, desktop, any pad, any surface. They come to the server which has a remote desktop, or they come to the URL and they connect there to WAP or RD gateway. So when user use the web browser, they connect to WAP server. When they come through the RDP, they connect to RD gateway server. So there are two components on this server in the middle. So it can connect to any of these two components, so WAP or RD gateway. So when they connect to the WAP, the authentication request forwards to ADFS server. ADFS authenticates them first through Active Directory, and once they are authenticated, then it sends the request to Azure MFA server, and Azure MFA server connects to Microsoft Azure AD and sends the token to user. When user replies back allow, then this request comes back and allows the user's device. At the same time, when you do RDP to your VDI, it goes to RD gateway server here, and then it goes to Active Directory. It bypasses the ADFS. It doesn't go here. It goes to Active Directory. Once it is logged in, it goes to MFA server, and then comes back to and allow you to log into your machine.
Could you go back to the previous one for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, the word add Office 365, is that relying party trust or relaying party trust?
Relay. Yeah, I think relaying party.
Relaying?
Yeah.
So both, because that, I don't want to be nitpicking because that's the critical word. I think
Yeah.
spelling means relay is R-E-L-A-Y, and it's totally different meaning.
Oh, okay. I'll correct it. Alright.
You understand what I'm saying? It's totally, because I first didn't get it quite right. I was looking at your graph.
Yeah, I will correct it. Thank you for identifying. I think maybe it's a relying party trust. So I'll check and correct if required. Alright, so this is the architecture which explains almost how it's gonna work. It looks now it looks simpler, if you know, but yeah, it's actually simple if you know how to configure it. But before configuration, you will figure out too much. All right, so now I will tell you known issues with the Azure MFA server. If you have a Mac user and you have configured the VDI for them, then they might see it twice. MFA is prompting. So Microsoft. Okay, I reach out to Smith Bishop, who is a Microsoft program manager, and for Azure MFA server, and okay. I was in Vegas last week at Gartner IM Summit, and I met him as well. I didn't meet him earlier. Whenever I went to Microsoft Seattle, I never got time to meet him. So I met him, and we discussed this issue earlier February this year, and he replied back to me saying the workaround is to have a cached entry in Azure portal. You can keep it like 30 seconds. So that second request, when it goes, it understands that it's already authenticated and this user is okay. Will not prompt you again. And it does work. But this is a workaround. There is no solution for this. Or educate your user that, okay, whenever you will do RDP, you will see the prompt twice. Allow it. That's it. It's just you. We can always check that in the log that user were authenticated twice, so it's not to worry that if somebody else is logging in, the user can be confused. Oh, if there is somebody else logging in. Then while deploying with another customer, we found NPS database corruption. Network protocol server has its own database, which can get corrupt. No matter what you do, it may not come back. Simpler way to resolve it is uninstall NPS and RD gateway, restart the server, and reconfigure everything. But rather than you invest time in correcting and identifying, there are simpler ways. That's what I would recommend. There's no loss, because it is just doing the authentication. It's not. It doesn't have much to get confused. It's a simple configuration there. If you have the configuration, just uninstall, reinstall, reconfigure it much faster. Then OVA showing blank page. When I configured OVA, it was showing blank page. So on this particular directory in IIS, we have to configure redirection to make it work through. That's a requirement. Then unable to connect to master MFA server. So one of the configuration I have done is multi-forest Azure MFA server deployment. So this was the issue which we saw in multi-forest deployment. And the second server, so how, if you have two servers, only one can connect to Azure AD and get the data and authentication. So second server will be kind of a slave, and it will send the request to master, and master will go back and come back to you. Or any data which it needs, it will be synchronizing with master. So with the two for forest, slave was coming to master and going back. But this is one issue which we have to consider, that your MFA server computer object should be in phone factor admins group as a member. If it's not there, then it will not work. So we identified that, and if you are in a multi-forest deployment, you have to learn how to add forest A group to forest B group. So it's not just adding the computer object. It's like you have to have a global group which can be added to domain local group. It's AD part is coming, so that makes it complex. So that's again Microsoft told this is the only way you have to do it. But then you should know the Active Directory.
All those steps that you were showing and the configuration takes days to complete, takes hours to complete, time to engineers and the cost. What is the cost?
I mean, I anticipate mostly 40 hours, not more than that.
For one engineer.
Yeah, for one engineer to deploy, maximum 40 hours. Because there could be some other issues and all, so considering that. But it could be done in 2 days, I mean, 16 hours.
Is it a costly solution?
I'm sorry?
Costly, cost-wise?
Cost-wise, it's not a costly solution. Your cost is the deployment engineer cost, and Microsoft charges you, I think, very less, $1, I think, per license. So it's not much, but it's very very safe. I would say those customers who have adopted this, their users are very comfortable. They don't have to log into VPN, so they completely get rid of VPN, or they have VPN as a backup. So it's all about end user comfort, and it is much secure. I mean,
These 2 days or 40 hours are per server, so you will
Yeah.
need to replicate that work for as many servers you want?
yes, yes. Yeah, if you add more servers, that's how you go. All right, and I mean, so this is server infrastructure deployment, but then later on you have to add end user's ID into the MFA configuration. Mostly that's end user system admin work, but that is still takes time to do that per user basis. So it's like configuring per user's device. So you have to talk to every user and add them. Or you can send the instructions. This is how they can log into the website, add it to their phone, and that's how it's going to work.
And it would not matter the type of device the client has. It could be any device.
Depends what you're using. For MFA,
Huh?
it will be any phone, which will have the app working. If you want the app, there are multiple ways you can configure to call. So you will receive a phone call from Microsoft server, and they will tell you either give the number or something, give the phone PIN number, or Microsoft will text you, or you can configure the app. There are basically 3 forms of using it, whichever you have. So maybe you can have the app in iPad. I haven't tested on the iPad the app. So yeah, but any device, no, not like iOS, Android, or any other device. That's fine. As far as it supports that feature. All right. So the next issue which we saw is unable to open application on non-IE browser. So application stopped opening in the non-IE browser because Azure MFA was not working correctly, and it was tied up with Azure MFA. So that's kind of a frustrating if it is not working, and your application was working before, and you connected with Azure MFA and it stopped working. So the most important thing is the configuration. We identified there was a minor space issues which is hard to find if you learn a command. It's hard to find. There's a space here or no space there. So we figured out that there was a space issue at a couple of places, and that fixed this issue as well. We opened Microsoft ticket, and Microsoft was not aware. So this thing is so new that Microsoft does not have enough support to get into that and help you out. Thin PC getting another issue. Okay. Thin PC getting certificate pop-ups. So we have one infrastructure had thin PCs, and they access the VDIs directly when user log into thin PCs. So it was getting certificate pop-up, so we had to apply the certificate through group policy. These are the known issues I have seen. There could be more. Okay, we're almost near to the end of the day. I have 2 bottles to give away. Whoever asked a good question today will get it. I didn't tell earlier. I'm sorry. So, but you have more referral there. So this is one last thing. So this is something this is coming up. This is new. Microsoft has talked about it in this blog. This is an NPS extension. So what Microsoft is saying is NPS extension is going to eliminate the need of Azure MFA server. You can use it. Just deploy the NPS extension, and it will do the Azure MFA. But this is for the radius, not for the web. So when it comes to the RDP requirement, it can do using this. So if you have the web, you have to deploy web server, which can connect to Azure Web, Azure ADFS, and that can do that thing. So it's whichever way organization is willing to go, they can go. But this is another way which is Microsoft coming up. Do everything in the cloud. That's the goal of Microsoft. So this is a new thing. Probably.
I know this is, I just want to tie it together. So if your company has everything in the cloud, then NPS is what you want basically? Or do you need NPS if it's all in the cloud?
Okay, so if your company is completely in the cloud, you might not need everything. If you have some domain controllers on premises and you need users to log in locally and then access the applications in the cloud, then you need this. So
NPS.
yeah, NPS extension.
Would it work in a hybrid? You know, you got some
Yeah.
prem and cloud.
Yes.
You will need this application on both ends.
No, this new thing. This is a new thing. It's an NPS, so it'll be in the. I mean, you will have this extension on your on-premise server. It'll connect to the cloud, and it'll do the Azure MFA for you. But the other option is totally server, full server, and you have all the controls there. So whichever way you feel better. All right. Takeaway from the day. Reasons to secure your infrastructure. I hope you want to secure your infrastructure, and multi-factor authentications helps you a lot, keeps you safe. Ways to secure infrastructure. How can you use Azure MFA? Even if what I would say is, even if you don't want or you find it difficult to use Azure MFA, use any other MFA. Safeguard yourself. That's my message. So, place to troubleshoot Azure MFA. These are my references, my blogs on the deployment. How can you safeguard your office infrastructure? And okay, so these are my Twitter handles, Facebook. These are my Facebook groups, my YouTube channel, my Yammer group. How many use Yammer? Okay, at least few. Then these are my LinkedIn groups, and these are my user groups in Meetup. So if you want to come to my Meetup, you can just come there. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time. And